Hi, Camille. Welcome to the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, our pleasure. I'm excited to have you. Selfishly, I think that this is going to be a great show because I love the topic of skincare, skin health. I think for so many women, it is such a popular topic these days. There's, I think, so much information out there about like what works, what doesn't. Natural skincare is getting quite the buzz. And so I think a lot of listeners are going to love this show too, based on what we're going to dive into for a specialty topic. But what we'll do to start is if you could share with our listeners a little bit about what you're currently doing. So kind of what does your current practice look like? And then we'll back it up, talk about how you got started, what you were doing before this, and then get into the topic of skin.
Sure. Sounds great. So what I'm currently doing is seeing clients one-on-one. That's currently the only way to work with me. And I focus specifically on helping women clear adult acne, specifically women that are dealing with more cystic, deeper breakouts where they've tried a bunch of different things. Most people that come to me have gone down the conventional route of antibiotics, birth control, Accutane maybe, and none of that worked or just made their skin worse in the long run and are really looking to kind of solve the issue from a root cause level. So I formulated, it's about a 12 week program, maybe about 4 months, depending on if we do lab testing. And we meet twice a month, where we just go through kind of how the program's going. And I support from a level of, nutrition to exercise, detox practices, depending on, what the issue is. And really focus too on the emotional aspect of it as well, just because dealing with, I got into this field because I dealt with my own acne journey. And I know how debilitating it can be. And the conventional route of, trying to get help with acne just totally ignores that piece of it. So that was really important to me too, as in launching this practice of really giving people that support that's not given in other areas of healthcare.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's so important to always touch on that, right? Like anything that someone's going through, there's usually kind of like, here, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. It's this like revolving door of clients and patients in the conventional sense. And I think where health coaching is set apart just in general is we kind of, hear the client, we see them, we support them in a way that's really important. But I would agree with acne and, mainly facial based skin issues, it can be, especially for women, something that is such an emotional process to work through. And having someone, we talk about this all the time on the show, that's been there, right? It's this relatability. It's not like you're sitting there, with your own beautiful skin, which you absolutely are, but you knew what it was like to be in that position before you healed it. And so clients can kind of trust that you're coming from that really compassionate, relatable place, which I think makes such a difference in their ability to kind of trust the process.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's huge. When you go into a doctor's office or a dermatologist and you can tell they're just not even listening to you and they're just trying to prescribe the next thing. It's just so discouraging. And yeah, I think a lot of us have been there with whatever different health issues that we deal with. And I really think it's almost the future of healthcare to talk to people that have been through what you've been through, who can give you that support.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So how did you kind of get started with doing what you're doing? Obviously, you shared with us already that you had your own acne and skin-based challenges, and that probably led you to looking for answers. Had you always been interested in health coaching? Is that something that you were doing previously, or were you in another field? Kind of give us your progression to where you are now.
Yeah. So no, I was not always a health coach. I kind of fell into this through, very intentionally, but through my own struggles with my skin. So growing up both my parents had acne when they were young. So I had that genetic predisposition already. And I dealt with acne from kind of later in high school, well into my 20s, into my mid 20s, I'd say about 10 years, I really struggled with pretty painful just embarrassing acne, and I mean, people should never be embarrassed by it, but it's hard when you're a girl just growing up and you look around you and it seems like everyone else has perfectly clear skin. So it was something that I always dealt with, and just kind of managed it. I didn't really know any better, but after graduating college, I started working in marketing. So I was doing search engine optimization for different agencies in San Diego, where I went to college and where I currently live now. And it just became really clear that that was not the career path for me. I was good at it and I was doing well, but I really didn't like it. It was kind of soul sucking for lack of a better word. And I could tell, like, I was working with other people in that space that I could tell were really excited about it and loved their job. And I felt that dissonance. I was like, yeah, I'm not there. And this isn't for me. But I would say starting in college is when I started to develop a passion for health and wellness. But it started from a place of, I first got into it through exercise, and I was really into weightlifting in the gym, but it was almost a toxic relationship with food and exercise, which I think so many young women can also relate to. But I mean, I was over exercising, I was malnourished, I was super stressed with school, and not to mention the stress that over exercising and under eating puts on your body. And then my skin really took a turn for the worst, I'd say about my junior year of college. And it was really hard. I remember sitting in a dermatologist's office, and I had tried everything from topical creams to oral antibiotics to pretty much, anything she would prescribe. And I remember sitting there and asking, does anything I'm eating, is anything I'm eating potentially impacting my skin? And she said, no, there's no evidence to support that what food you eat would impact your skin. And I just felt so dismissed, and like she wasn't listening to me. And I remember, like, at that exact moment, I was like, I'm going to figure this out on my own. So I'm probably going on a tangent here,
but I'm curious, at that moment, did you kind of have this feeling of like, I think that stuff that I'm eating could be exacerbating my skin? Like, did you already have like that kind of internal intuition, or you were like, there's gotta be something, and you were looking for her to confirm it? Or was it more like, oh, I read this, I wonder if it's true?
I think I was looking for her to confirm it. I remember going into that appointment with her. I had already been doing some preliminary research just on Google, but you can never really trust what's on Google. But I was reading a lot about dairy and how that can impact skin. And I mean, when she dismissed me, I was like, I just know there's something deeper here. Mm-hmm. So I kind of decided, okay, I'm just going to start trying things on my own, because she was pushing Accutane. She was like, that's kind of like, you're going to have to do Accutane. That's your next step. And I said, yeah, I'm not doing that. And I was eating, I mean, at that point in my life, I was eating so much dairy. I mean, I think it's so gross looking back on it now, but I would have like cottage cheese for breakfast. I had regular cheese probably like 3 or 4 times a day. I was eating pizza all the time. I mean, I was in college, I was eating easy mac and cheese. Like, I didn't know anything about nutrition, really. I thought I did, but I really didn't. But I decided, okay, I'm going to cut out dairy, and my skin improved so much just from that one change. And that kind of got the ball rolling, where I was like, okay, there's something to this. But, still I was struggling with it. It wasn't, obviously just cutting out dairy isn't going to be the only solution. But yeah, it was kind of through that process of, okay, realizing I'm in this job that's not working for me. I've battled acne my whole life. I was able finally to clear it, a couple years ago. But yeah, then I decided I want to help people do this, now knowing all that I know, I'm like, if I had just known that back then, that would have saved me years and years of struggle and pain and money trying to solve this issue.
Yeah. If you had known a you.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we all ultimately, feel called to do is like be that person that had we only met somebody who knew what we knew now back when we were struggling so much, it would have been such a relief to have the support, the knowledge, what have you, the ability for somebody to help us in a way that was so much more meaningful and less dismissive, right? Everybody uses the word dismissive when they kind of talk about more conventional realms, in the sense that they kind of go in hoping that somebody's going to give them an answer. And then they're just kind of, even you saying, could my nutrition be, related to this? And like, oh, there's no significant research to suggest that. Well, there should be. But,
Right.
Not even like, well, try it. You never know. Why don't you give it a try? Kind of just like, no, that's hocus pocus. Right. So yeah, amazing that you kind of listened to your own intuition, and that led you down at least that start, right, of taking that out. And then you were like, I think I'm onto something.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a journey for sure.
Yes. So what I would love to kind of talk about next is, what's your typical process with clients that come in with adult acne? Are you, running labs to get to the bottom of what might be going on? Do you find that there's, always this one common theme? Can it be faceted? I think with women, especially, like sometimes there can be a hormonal component and also gut related things. Or what do you kind of find to be the most general way that you go about working with these clients?
Yeah. So people have so much in common. I think women have so much in common when it comes to their skin. Everyone has, the root cause is different for everybody, or slightly different. But I really use so I'm an IHP level 1. And I really use that de-stress protocol that Dr. Cabral teaches, because I like to call it just, let's start with the foundation. So the first month of the plan with everybody, I just start foundationally, and that looks a little bit different for everybody. I meet them where they're at, but there's so much that can be done just from optimizing blood sugar. Blood sugar balancing is so key when it comes to skin. Removing gluten, people talk, I mentioned dairy, but gluten is another huge, huge trigger when it comes to skin. So just cleaning up the diet, not doing too much at once, but yeah, starting with blood sugar, cleaning up the diet, reducing stress. I feel like people just are constantly talking about stress in this alternative health space, but it's so true. Like if your body is at that stressed state constantly, which so many of us are, you can't digest food. Your skin can't heal. You can't get good sleep. It just affects everything. So, working on and movement, hydration, just the basics. So I start everyone there, and that typically they'll start to see some little results from those things, but I definitely like to leverage lab testing as well. I love running hormone tests, and I love the organic acids test that you can purchase through Equalife. I remember with one of my first clients ever, she had been working with a previous naturopath. She had been getting regular facials for about a year with an acne specialist. So we knew for sure the products that she was using were good. Her diet was so clean. But she was really struggling still with deep breakouts along her cheeks and jawline. And the organic acids test kind of uncovered that she was dealing with some underlying mold issues from a previous living situation. And when we kind of implemented a specific diet protocol for that, her skin started clearing. It was almost instant. So I think lab testing can be so, so beneficial, especially for the person who has tried everything and they feel like they're doing everything right and is still having major issues with their skin. So foundations always usually bring on some lab testing, and then it's just, diet tweaks, supplementation, and working through those emotional blocks too. And I've seen really great success with people from kind of following that plan.
Yes. Yeah. Because we'll get questions all the time like, oh, what do you use on your skin? That is like 15% of it. There's certainly some amazing skin products out there. But when you kind of have internal things in check, and for so many people, I think it's so smart to start foundationally, because for some people, that is enough to, address what's going on, because, stress might be a major component. So is nutrition and, lifestyle-based triggers. And so if you don't get that stuff under control first, and you just like jump to, let's say yeast and bacteria, and you try to fix that without like fixing the stress and hydration and all of that stuff first, oftentimes, you can kind of own this in the similar way of like, only getting half the result.
Exactly.
And then needing to, work a little bit backwards. And I think it also allows the client to kind of take a little bit of power in this situation and see like you said, most of them usually start to see some improvement, and you get that like hook of, okay, this is working. And then they get to relax into the process and trust you on the next best steps, whether that's a lab test or, using this product, or they finally realize, okay, there's something to kind of this more natural approach. And, I'm going to see the process through.
Yeah, totally. I think it's really helpful to at least start to see some progress, or you start to, I do a full intake with people. So it's often not just acne. Like so many people too are dealing with digestive symptoms or constipation, or they're not sleeping well, or they get really fatigued in the afternoon. So we go through all of that. And, I touch base with them along the way on those things. And usually we see those things improving too, which is so cool,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I always say I actually went to school for criminal justice. That was like
wow.
I kind of like was like an investigator by nature. Like I loved like what's like, who committed the crime? And I always joke that like, I'm still investigating. It's just like this process of like, okay, these are the symptoms. This is what we're seeing. And you can kind of assume, okay, antibiotics, helped clear up her skin and she has gut-based issues. Oh, we're probably dealing with a microbial, imbalance and, going in that direction. It really is like such an investigative and, checking one thing off the list process that kind of leads you to the end result, right? It doesn't all happen overnight, but you kind of just keep checking one thing off based on, what you see through the process.
Yeah, totally. I think that's such a key, those are such key questions to ask. So yeah, I'm always asking stuff like that too. Yeah. Did antibiotics help at any point? And they say, oh yeah, when I took this antibiotic, it kind of helped my skin, but I didn't want to be on it long-term. So then I went off it and my acne came back. Or so many people are put on spironolactone for acne. And that really works for a lot of people because it has that anti-androgenic effect in the body. So people see great results with hormonal acne, which, historically is most people think, oh, there's nothing I can do about this. It's hormonal. But if spironolactone worked, it's like, okay, there's definitely an underlying hormonal imbalance that we need to address. So that can be so helpful. And you can kind of start to, like you said, you're an investigator. So you notice little things and you can kind of cross things off the list.
Yes. Yeah. Piece things together for sure. So I'm curious, when you have clients, come to you and, they start, do you do any topical, recommendations as well? Is it mostly internal? Obviously internal comes first, but then do you have, clients that really benefit and get like that last 20% of help from topical type of interventions as well?
Yeah. So I actually, with clients, I do an initial intake, and in that intake form, I have them list all their products they're using. So skincare, makeup, hair care, laundry detergent, anything that's touching their skin. I do laundry detergent because, people sleep on their pillowcases. And if they have acne, that could be a reason why. So I have them list all those things. And then I go through each ingredient individually and see if there's anything that's could be clogging their pores. I think in the beginning you had mentioned there's kind of this movement towards clean beauty, which is great. We don't want any of those fillers or toxins or endocrine disruptors in our products, but so many of those clean beauty brands use things that are coconut based or that have shea butter. And some of those organic, like nice, clean ingredients are a nightmare when it comes to acne. And that was something that, so just jumping back a little bit, as soon as I graduated from college and I was like, okay, I'm really going to fix this issue on my own, I started seeing a holistic esthetician in La Jolla, actually, who I still work with today. And she was the one who really educated me about pore clogging ingredients. And I had literally I'd never heard of that. And so that's where I start with my clients is we address the foundations, but I also go through all their products and I give them alternatives for anything that could be clogging their pores. I think that's also a big part of the reason why clients start to see some progress, because so many people are using great products, even really expensive products that, look amazing and the marketing is great. So you're like, oh, this must be safe for my skin. Mm-hmm. But little do they know it's causing major issues.
Yes. Yeah. And I think just as internally, everybody is bio-individual, topically, everybody is bio-individual. My sister and I joke because like she'll try a new product that she absolutely loves. And I know that if she loves it and it works for her skin, it will be a nightmare for mine and vice versa. Like we don't react the same way to anything at all. She gets tons of moisture and tons of hydration from things with shea butter and all those higher comedogenic products. Whereas I need like single sourced, like I do well with squalane oil or just rosehip. And when I start getting like complicated, heavier ingredients, I absolutely am way more sensitive to like pore clogging and then getting acne from it and that like higher comedogenic type of reaction. So I feel like everybody topically is so different, right? And that's why some of these brands, even good, expensive, holistic, clean products can get high ratings. Well, most people who are rating them probably don't have like a pore clogging issue that some other people could be. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it seems like they're great products, which they probably are for some, but if you're not educated on kind of what your bio-individuality is topically on your skin, they can be, quote, nightmares for you.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's so different. And when it comes to acne, I always tell people I can help you with the internal piece of it. And I can recommend products, or at least say, okay, we need to remove this product. But I always recommend people go see an esthetician who is an acne specialist, because really finding that relief from acne for good is both treating it through, internally, but also topically. So you kind of need to do both to really find that relief for good.
Yes. Yeah. And just as kind of once you get the internal balance, doing like the maintenance externally is so beneficial. And once you kind of start to then feel good about your skin, it almost becomes like, I use the word obsession like loosely, but you almost, it becomes like your little project that you are taking care of and always, nurturing. And at least I find a lot of women who recover from, I had, PCOS induced acne and horrible skin for so many years, more hormonally based. And I remember like the day that I realized that like, wow, my skin's clearing, like it's such a relief, and that you no longer have to worry about it, that you're like, I'm going to keep making sure that this is, what I keep getting for the rest of my life.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when it's something that, it sounds like you struggled with your skin as well. When you focused on it for so long, like I was constantly looking in the mirror, like picking at it, like, it does become an obsession. And you're right. Yeah. When it starts to clear, it's like a weight is lifted. Like I remember just more than anything wanting to be able to feel like I could go outside without makeup on, but I never did because I was so ashamed of it,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, once you start to see those results, it's so satisfying. So I love to walk people through that.
Yes. So if I was listening to this podcast, I would be like, Julia, ask her about what skincare products she likes. Because I know lots of our listeners are kind of like into, the clean beauty space, and they like to, kind of get like an idea as to, okay, what are other people using? Do you have kind of go-tos? And of course, we know like everybody's a little bit different, but do you have brands that you like? Do you have, specific oils or blends or things that are kind of your go-to, or you find work really well with clients who are more prone to clogging, that kind of higher comedogenic type of product?
Yeah. Yes. I have some favorites for sure. So, there are a couple brands where if you're dealing with active breakouts, these are some good ones. So the brand Face Reality, they specialize in creating products for to help treat acne topically, and they have lots of different types of serums, and moisturizers, sunscreens. They have a whole comprehensive line. And what I like about them is, like when it comes to active breakouts, most people need some type of acid, like a mandelic or a glycolic, salicylic, something like that. But everyone, like you said, is so different. So for me, mandelic acid worked really well. And they have different percentages. So you can start with like a low percentage, maybe like a 5 or an 8%. And then I think they have up to like maybe a 15 or 20% for someone who's dealing with maybe more oily skin or something like that. So that's a great place to start. It's a pretty low price point. And a lot of estheticians who are acne specialists recommend that brand, and they can help you with the specific maybe percentages for those serums to use, and recommend good moisturizers and sunscreens and that kind of thing too. So that brand is amazing. And then I personally work with a brand called ClearStem, and this brand was created by the esthetician that I started going to when I was struggling so badly with my skin. And she has a background in biology, really knows how the human body works, and chemistry as well, I think. And this product line is incredible. Like between Face Reality and ClearStem, I will not use anything else on my skin, because that's when I started to see such a huge improvement. Because prior to that, I was removing my makeup with coconut oil because I thought that was, good and organic, and it was, but terrible for my skin. And so, yeah, making that jump to those brands, Face Reality and ClearStem, it was like, oh my gosh, night and day difference. So I think both of those are a good place to start if, you're using, and it's so interesting too, when people give me their list of products they're using, a lot of people are using products that are marketed as, here's an acne protocol, or like a face wash, a serum, a moisturizer, and it's targeted at acne. And I'll look at the ingredients and it has pore cloggers in it. So it's like, it's hard as a consumer. You really can't trust most brands and their marketing. And I worked in marketing prior to working in health coaching, so I know how the industry works. But to answer your question, Face Reality and ClearStem are great.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And the truth is like some of those little, kits, the 3 product, like might work for one person, but they're a disaster for somebody else. No different than like one supplement works for somebody. And it's really about, which is why I think working with somebody who knows how to navigate, through all of this stuff that can be so confusing, no different than, are tomatoes good for you or tomatoes bad for you, right? Like there's so much information and so much education at our fingertips that it can be so overwhelming, so confusing if you're not working with somebody who's able to kind of look directly into what you're currently doing, what your set of issues are, and kind of guide you in an individual sense. And so, that's where you and a holistic esthetician would come into play. And I think it's so important, to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
So if someone's listening and they kind of want to learn more from you or find you on social media, do you have any social media accounts, websites? Where do you kind of show up with some of your education and inspiration? And your skin, I'm sure, just speaks for itself because it's absolutely beautiful, which
thank you
is, I'm sure, inspirational when your clients begin working with you.
Yeah, definitely. So right now I'm just on Instagram. So you can find me at Camille Marie _nutrition. I will be on TikTok soon. I'm just trying to juggle all the things. But that brand that I mentioned, ClearStem, I also work with them as their acne nutritionist. So I don't have my own website yet, but I do have a page on their website. So it's just clearstemskincare.com. And you can go there and read more about my story and also book a free discovery call if you're interested about my one-on-one program or working together. So that's where you can find me.
That's great. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. This was such, I think, a unique topic that we haven't really dove into much at all. And you offered us so much valuable information. So I appreciate you being here.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Of course. We'll be in touch soon. Thanks, Camille.
Thank you.